Some agents are S tier on one map and hot garbage on another. That's why this isn't your regular run-of-the-mill snooze fest tier list with all the agents clumped together. We're going to go through every map role by role and tell you who you should be playing, who to avoid, and even give you tips and tricks along the way. Season 2026 didn't seem to flip the game on its head in the way that some people thought it would, but there have been some major shakeups to the meta on quite a few maps. Previous staples no longer the default choices, with new agents emerging as popular or stronger choices in the new meta. There's a lot to cover since our last tier list, including how reduced utility across the board is affecting things, Breeze has been completely reworked, a Harbor rework that has fallen flat everywhere except one surprise map, and Gecko now has the strongest kit in the game. And if you're still running the same comps that you were in 2025, you are losing RR. And if you want everything you need to know to climb the ranks in Valorant, you need to check out our latest courses on SkillCapped.com, including our brand new Vito course made by professional coaches with all the tech you need to carry with him in your solo queue games. And you can try it all risk-free with our rank up guarantee. If you don't rank up 5 divisions while actively using our service, then you can get your money back. So sign up today with an exclusive one-time discount in the link below. The meta on Abyss is the most changing throughout the elo brackets, with a lot of high skill cap agents performing well in the upper bracket, but leading to simpler picks being stronger in lower elos. Kicking off with Duelist, and Phoenix is performing well, but he can't really threaten with the op in a way that someone like Jet can. But as a flex second Duelist, he's incredible. For those unfamiliar with our tier list and not really sure what that means, I'll explain it when we get to our first full tier list graphic very shortly. But keep that in mind, because Phoenix being good in the flex slot is going to be a major theme of this tier list. Jet is back as the Queen of Abyss, there's no debate. The map is built for her. Long sight lines, verticality, and she's the only one who can truly make playmaking happen on this map in a way that no one else can replicate, thanks to her drift passive. Moving over to Initiators, and KO players are thriving in Radiant right now, but everyone else who's not at that level, you're going to struggle to extract real value from his kit. He's going into B tier. But instead of KO, you might want to pick up Teo. Teo actually has the highest win rate in Iron and top 3 up through Plat, so if you're in those ranks, don't sleep on him, especially if you prefer the non-recon Initiators. So we are sliding him into B tier for this patch, but know that if you're in lower elos, you're going to get more value out of him than that. For the top pick, wide open spaces mean his dart and drone get insane value. Shocks are great in post plant and hard for clearing trips. That's right, it's Sova. Jet loves having a Sova on her team. If you're playing Abyss without Sova, you're just handicapping yourself and your team. Moving over to controllers, and I just need to let you know that this is Omen's worst map. Full stop. Don't pick him. You're not going to have a good time. Sorry, Omen mains. Same goes for Harbor. He's still pretty much the worst agent in the game post rework, and he used to have some niche applications on Abyss, even winning champions last year, but now there's not really any reason to pick him. Luckily, there is a surprise map coming up where he is getting good value. This is Clove's single best map in the entire pool. The only controller who rivals her here is Astra, and even pro players rarely play Astra to her fullest. For most players out there, Clove has to be the recommendation on Abyss. And for Sentinels, one of the best Sentinels on the map in Iron to Silver is Killjoy. Moving beyond that elo, you start running into players who know how to exploit her weaknesses on this map. But for you guys trying to get out of elo hell, Killjoy's a pick for you. We're going to slot her into B tier. Vito has been seeing a lot of success in pro play, but not transitioning as well in ranked. He's a very hard agent to play perfectly. We're going to slide him down to A tier. And then we have Chamber, whose op carry potential is through the roof. Chamber on Abyss just changes the entire game. S tier. Okay, now let's have a look at our full tier list graphic, and to quickly explain our flex picks. In Valorant, there's obviously 4 roles and 5 players on a team, so you're going to have a flex. The way we rank agents in this category is if they perform better when they have a pairing in their same role. The most notable example on most maps is going to be Viper, who struggles as a solo controller but thrives as a secondary controller. Phoenix, Deadlock, and Breach are other agents that you might also see commonly placed high in the flex category. Moving on to Bind now, where there was a bit of a shakeup, then a restabilization, and now a shakeup again. Yuri got kicked to the curb a little bit at the end of 2025 after the nerfs, but now he's loving the lower util environment in 2026, where he actually has one of the highest volume of utils in the game. And Bind is still his best map. That said, he is one of the hardest agents in the game, so don't pick him without practice, including the unique macro utilization that he has with the teleporters. We're going to slot him into A tier on this patch, but keep your eye on him. He might keep creeping up back into S tier. But for right now, there is a solo occupant of the S tier on Bind, and that is Raze. She's back to being the best on Bind after having to share the spotlight with Yoru for a while, and we'll see how much longer she gets to remain in that spotlight alone. Boombot gives you an extra corner clearing tool that is invaluable on this map, and her paint shells single-handedly keep Sentinels in check. Over the past year, it's been a bit of a revolving door on S tier between Gecko, Skye, and Fade. But for the first time, both Skye and Fade are no longer in the S tier, and that solo belongs to Gecko. It's not so close anymore. With his recent buff in 12.3, Gecko has become the single best initiator on Bind. Mosh Pit now being reclaimable, plus the extra time you get to pick up your little bros, just turns Gecko into an agent that can systematically take apart the map. Bind is very segmented and rewards heavy util usage. Gecko is the gold standard for that right now. Moving on to controllers, and Brimstone is the best controller on Bind. Most maps favor a rechargeable smoke when you have to work mid before committing to a side, but Bind doesn't have a mid. It has a ton of side entrances. Brimstone's 3 extra long smokes get mega value here. Brimstone has the highest skill impact on Bind, but Clove has the lowest skill floor. Both S tier. And over to the Sentinels, where a resurgence for Vice is taking place, and she's been performing well in mid to high elo, where she brings a super flexible kit that is easy to get value out of, especially with Archros, where you can flash attackers entering sight from both lanes at the same time. But the flexibility of her kit might be overwhelming in lower elos, where she's not performing as well, so we're putting her in A tier. Bind is Vito's best performing map, and I expect his performance to keep climbing. The problem is that no one still really knows all the tech that you can do with him on Bind, but you can learn all of that tech before the rest of the player base does in our new Vito courses, where we show you a bunch of insane setups, lineups, and different ways to play Vito on each of the different maps, which is why we have him in S tier. Sage keeps getting stronger and stronger on Bind with all of the reduced util changes. This is the strongest she's ever been. Healing and long stall play really well into Bind's play patterns and meta, where you'll verse a lot of agents that have chip damage. So she'll be remaining in S tier. That brings us to our full graphic, where you might see what I was hinting at the start of the video. Arbor may have actually found a home on Bind as a second controller. He is the highest win rate duo for both Yoru and Gecko right now on Bind, and that's saying a lot. There's a bunch of really unique combos that you can run on Bind with your duo, including Deadlock Vito, Yoru and Waylay, and Gecko and Raze. Breeze has returned with a new rework that I have been really enjoying, which is crazy if you've heard me dreading its return. Let us know in the comments what you think of the Breeze rework, and if you'd like a new Breeze rework guide. Jet has always been a standout on Breeze, and the rework doesn't change that. Right now, her win rate in low to mid elo is unmatched. It plateaus in high elo, but that's only because her pick rate is sitting at nearly 80%. That is the highest pick rate for any duelist on any map in the entire game right now. In short, Jet is S tier on Breeze. Gecko is performing well in low to mid elo and is my recommendation for anyone having to fill Initiator when you don't have Sova lineups. We're placing him in A tier. Sova is the only agent with a higher pick rate than Jet on Breeze, nearly 90% in high elo. Sova is effectively a must pick on Breeze, and the reworked map still has more than enough open space for his kit to dominate. As for controllers, this is Viper's original home and the only map in the current pool where she can competently function as a solo controller, thus giving you extra flexibility in your team comp building. That's unseen value. She's loving the rework as well. There's so many good walls to throw on both sides of the map, including this sick mid wall if you are running double controller, which gives you full control of mid rotations. It's so good. As for Sentinels, the localized control Sentinels really struggle on Breeze. I'm talking Killjoy, Deadlock, and Vice. The maps are too open for their entry denial to be effective. Where you want to be looking is for that more global control, and Cypher is still a fantastic pick for that. He synergizes well with Viper, who's obviously a very popular pick, by being able to provide pseudo smokes in the form of his cages for sight defense. But his biggest strength is being the only agent on the map who can give you full map control, thanks to the abundance of his trap network in his kit. But since the trip nerfs, it's a lot easier to run him over on defense, so we're putting him in A tier. Having a chamber on Breeze completely changes the game. Headhunter is a massive threat in any given round, and there are tons of angles where it's straight up better than a Vandal. Snipers are the best weapon class on this map, so why not play the guy who has the best sniper in the game as his ult? Chamber is an easy S tier. Now, as for flex slots, there's a lot of good duelists to put in there, but my favorite is Neon for helping slice up Breeze's awkwardly large sights, letting you isolate one half, take deeper control before the wall drops, then making it easier to contest the rest of sight and get the plant down safely. And now we move to Corrode, which has also seen some reworks since our last tier list. And there's been a big meta shakeup, particularly with duelists and sentinels. Waylay has actually become the most popular pick for Radiant and Immortal players on Corrode when it comes to duelists. And she's seeing seen decent success, but that will always be more difficult to translate down to the lower ranks where you're less likely to have good team coordination or the amount of games on her necessary to master a lot of her tech. We're putting her in A tier. Another agent who is thriving in the new meta is ISO. Particularly in high elo, he is dominating, but the rest of the meta hasn't caught on yet because he's still the lowest picked duelist on Corrode. The reason he's thriving is the lack of chip damage on Corrode right now, especially with the brand spanking new Play It's Right installed on the walls that have reduced wall spam and the prevalence of the Odin on the map. And because of the site design on Corrode, dash duelists are both not necessary and easier to punish, making room for other playstyles. So if you want to be ahead of the meta, start picking ISO. We're moving him up to S tier. As for initiators, this is Teo's best performing map, and if you're a SkillCapped subscriber, you would know that we've been high on Teo on Corrode for a long time if you've watched any of our previous tier lists. People are starting to catch on. This is the first act where he is not the least picked initiator on Corrode, and he has the best win rate of all initiators that are non-scan initiators. He's a fantastic fill pick because you don't need to know any lineups, and the wall plating changes close the gap for Teo to nearly make it to S tier on Corrode. We'll be keeping him in A tier for now. Fade has re-emerged as the top dog on Corrode, being the clear best choice in all elos. There's a lot of great high up haunt lineups that you can learn, and Seeds is great on both attack and defense. Onto controllers, and unfortunately this is the most one-sided and least interesting role meta in the game right now. Corrode is the map where Clove has the largest lead in non-mirror win rate. They really are unstoppable on this map. Metal particularly is an incredible tool for contesting key areas. But on the flip side, the Sentinel class meta is very interesting. Where we last left off, it looked like we were going to move into a Chamber and Sage meta, and they were outperforming every other Sentinel, but that is no longer the case. Many players have flocked to Chamber, and that has probably had a noticeable negative impact on his win rate, but also the Duelist meta has adapted to counter him. ISO, Phoenix, and Neon are all very strong into Chamber, making it hard for him to get those picks. We're moving Chamber down to A tier because if you're seeing a lot of these agents, then you want to avoid picking him, and instead start picking Vice, who we're moving up to S tier as a counter to the current meta. Non-movement duelists have a hard time of baiting her wall and have to take a lot of damage to push through her thorns. For our flex slot recommendations, Phoenix, Teo, and Viper are all incredibly good on this map, particularly because of their synergies with Clove. Phoenix provides you with the extra smoke coverage, and Viper and Clove is the single best duo controller pairing on pretty much every map. Moving on to Haven now, where there is a very interesting shift in the meta. For a long time now, we've held Jet and Neon in S tier as the premier duelists, but the util reduction has exposed their weakness of needing that util support. Both of them are sliding down to A tier, and replacing them is Raze and Phoenix. Wait, what? Is this 2022? For those who weren't around back then, Fade released in a very strong state, which led to a Raze and Fade meta on Haven, and Optic ran a jank Phoenix comp at Champs. But no, it is 2026, and it's been a long time since we've seen Raze at the top of the meta. You'll still be seeing Jet as the most picked agent, but get ahead of the meta and start playing Raze and Phoenix. They are both S tier. With a change in a duelist meta, naturally there is a shift in the initiator strengths too. Sova will be remaining in S tier. Most of the time you'll still be playing with Jet, where she's rather reliant on Sova, but start brushing up on your Sky Flashes for when the rest of the community starts catching on to how strong Raze's extra util is in this meta, because Sky is the best initiator to support her, and she's naturally good on Haven as well. We're moving her up into S tier. It's hard to make an evaluation of controllers on Haven. Omen continues to be a popular pick, but Brimstone is also gaining in popularity. If you're gonna be making the most out of Omen, go ahead and pick him. If you're just feeling, get that easy Clove win. For Sentinels, Killjoy continues to dominate as the single best Senti on Haven. She has incredible flexibility, and when you get creative with your util placement, she really shines. S tier. The best thing about Haven is that you can approach it in a number of ways, so the meta is always fairly diverse, giving you and your duo lots of options to be able to carry the game. There's also tons of flexibility in the flex category. See what I did there? And depending on who your flex character is, it can change a lot about how you approach the map. With Breach, you want to aggressively fight for space. With Neon and Waylay, you really want to hit into backside quickly and not allow those flood rotations. And with Sage and the extra stall that she brings, you can use that extra time to commit to flanks and lurks. Now over to Pearl, where things are continue to shift. With Chamber's popularity skyrocketing on Pearl, ISO has become an easy answer to him. Just run down B long with wall and shield. So he's jumping up into A tier. Reyna is also seeing more success on Pearl thanks to her Leah being a strong tool against snipers as well. She's also sliding up to A tier. Over to initiators, and Fade has come out on top as the preferred scan initiator on Pearl in this new meta. She easily belongs in the S tier, leading both win rate and pick rate by a substantial amount. But that might not last long if more players begin picking up Gecko. He was already a bit of a sleeper pick on Pearl, a map where planting can be a bit tricky, allowing you to steal rounds with Wingman. After his recent buff, we are sliding Gecko up to S tier as well. Over to controllers, and it's nice to have something interesting to say about this class. Brimstone is seeing quite a bit of success on Pearl. Mid is kind of strange and isn't really somewhere that smokes get invested to too often, allowing Brim to have that playstyle that he has on Bind and Fracture, playing for long stall on extremities. With attack rotations taking forever on Pearl, this often nets quite an advantage. On attack side, he also gets the advantage of having 3 smokes for both A and B site, having 3 entrances that it's worth smoking off. And of course, this is all led by his indirect buff from the util changes, with all other controllers having their smoke cooldowns increased. Brimstone is going to stay in A tier, but we'll be monitoring closely. Pearl is a viable map for every senti in the game right now, with none of them ranking below B tier, but one stands out above the rest, and that is Killjoy. Killjoy is able to single-handedly cover mid whilst also using mollies to help with sight, both on attack and defense. Pearl is kind of similar to Haven, that a lot of the spaces on the map itself actually play quite differently, which tends to create healthy duelist and initiator metas. And you can see that carries over to our flex slots as well. But not only the flex slots, there's a lot of variety in our duo recommendations. The Neon Reyna pairing is great for attacking B with their ability to break open B long quite easily. We have the veganism duo, Gecko and Sage, who we just care about getting the plant down. Plant, vegan, you get it? And the Aim and Brain double sentinel duo is really nice here as well. As Killjoy, you focus on controlling mid, and as Chamber, you work those extremities looking for those picks. Over to Split now, where there's a very interesting statistic that I can use to separate Radiant players from the rest of the player base. Split has historically been a Raze map. It's a really good map for Raze. If you've watched any of our videos, you'll know this. It's also historically been a pretty poor map for Jett, aside from double dive duelist comps. Now I'm going to ask you a question with this in mind. Out of every rank in Valorant, how many ranks do you think Raze is picked more than Jett? Keep in mind, this is very common knowledge. If you said only Radiant, you would be correct. Every other rank in the game is picking Jett about 50% of the time, including Immortals at 48%. Radiant players though, only 35%, favoring both Yoru and Raze above Jett. Jett is not performing well at all on Split right now. You're much better off picking Raze, who sits alone in S tier. As for initiators, the gap has widened, and Gecko now has a strong point of difference between all the other initiators below him, but Gecko does struggle to bring that pace that sometimes you want on Split, which is why he's going in A tier, and Sky will be placed in S tier alone above him. For controllers, so that I'm not repeating myself for the 7th map, let's blend this into a semi-sentinel discussion and talk about Viper. Split is a map where trips are optional and contesting mid is mandatory. Viper can replace your sentinel pick and play as your mid anchor, similar to what a Sage might do, whilst also providing unique play patterns with her wall placements. She goes in as S tier as a flex second controller, but for solo smokes, you know the drill. Clove is S tier. For actual sentinels, I would like to highlight Deadlock, who thrives on maps that don't require flank watch like Bind and Split, which is why she's S tier here. She's great at punishing rushes and can hold her nade in B heaven ready to stop both mid and B rushes from the same point on the map. And as you can see here with all of the agents laid out, the Split meta doesn't have many options in the S tier, but luckily there's still many viable different team comps and playstyles on Split, which is why you can see our S tier flex container is completely full. When you're foregoing a sentinel and playing Viper instead, then you can play double duelist and double smokes, or double initiator and double smokes. And that's it for all the tier lists. Hopefully we continue to see a more diverse meta in 2026. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Give this video a like if you found it helpful, and leave a comment letting us know which agents you're playing this season. And be sure to check out our other recent uploads. That's all for now. We'll see you in the next one.